She walked alone under the pale light of her world's twin moons. The alien girl's name was Lyra, and she had always been different. Her skin shimmered faintly, unlike the dull tones of the others in her clan. Her eyes were brighter, almost glowing, and that made people whisper behind her back. They called her cursed, touched by strange forces, unfit to be one of them. Every morning, she left her home before the others woke. She walked far into the empty fields, where the tall crystal grass bent with the wind. There, away from the mocking eyes, she could breathe. There, no one told her she was wrong. Still, even in her solitude, she felt the heavy weight of loneliness pressing against her chest. Lyra wanted to belong. She wanted to sit among her people, laugh at their jokes, dance in their fires. But every time she tried, the circle pushed her away. Children copied her glow in cruel games. Adults looked at her like a problem better ignored than solved. Her mother never defended her. Her father never spoke. It was as if even her own blood had abandoned her. That night, something different stirred in the air. The wind carried a new rhythm, one she had never heard before. It was not the quiet hum of the crystal plains, not the familiar songs of her people. It was sharper, brighter, alive with beats that made her heart race. She followed the sound without thinking, her bare feet pressing into the glowing soil. Step after step, she moved closer to something forbidden, closer to the human camp. Her people had warned her all her life. Humans were dangerous, untrustworthy, invaders from the stars. They had strange customs, strange machines, and hearts full of greed. But the sound, the strange music, pulled her like a tide. It was not threatening, it was joyous. She could hear voices rising with it, laughter breaking through the night. She stopped at the edge of a ridge, looking down into the valley below. And there they were, humans, gathered in circles around glowing fires. Their machines hummed in the distance. But here, they seemed almost peaceful. Some of them moved with the sound, their bodies swaying, their feet beating the ground in rhythm. It was a dance, she realized, though was unlike anything her people did. Her people's dances were solemn, heavy with rules. This was wild, free. The humans smiled at each other, touched hands, spun. They laughed without shame. The sound of it pierced Lyra's heart. She pressed a hand to her chest, wishing, for the first time in her life, to be part of it. But she knew she could not. She was an outcast among her own. What would humans think of her, glowing skin and strange eyes? They would fear her, mock her, just as her people did. Still, she could not look away. Her gaze locked onto one figure among them. A human boy, perhaps not much older than her. He laughed louder than the rest, spinning in the firelight. For a brief moment, he looked up the ridge, and Lyra froze. His eyes seemed to meet hers. For a heartbeat, she thought he saw her through the shadows. Her pulse quickened, fear and hope crashing together. She crouched lower, praying the glow of her skin would not betray her. But the boy only smiled faintly, as if sensing something in the dark. Then he turned back to his friends, his laughter rising again. Relief and disappointment struck her at once. Lyra's legs trembled as she stepped back from the ridge. She should not be here, she told herself. If her people found out she had spied on the humans, the punishment would be harsh. If the humans saw her, they might capture her, hurt her. Still, the music stayed in her ears, refusing to let go. The beat carried inside her chest, making her feel alive for the first time. She wrapped her arms around herself and whispered, "Why can't I be part of that?" In the distance, the humans clapped and cheered, their voices echoing into the night. Lyra turned away, the ache of longing burning inside her. For all her life, she had been the alien outcast. But tonight, she had seen something different. A world where laughter did not mock, where dance did not exclude. A world where maybe, just maybe, someone would one day take her hand. The thought made her heart pound, even as tears blurred her glowing eyes. And in that moment, beneath the twin moons, Lyra felt something she had never felt before. Hope. The next night, Lyra could not stay away. Her mind had replayed the strange music and the human laughter over and over. Every beat still echoed in her chest, making it impossible to sleep. Her people rested in their dark stone homes, but Lyra slipped quietly into the plains. The twin moons guided her, silver and blue light falling over the crystal grass. Her steps were silent, but her heart raced loudly inside her. She told herself it was dangerous, foolish, even forbidden. Yet her feet moved without pause, drawn once again toward the valley where the humans gathered. This time she did not stop at the ridge. She crept closer, her glowing skin hidden beneath a cloak of shadow. The fires were brighter tonight, the voices louder, the music even stronger. She saw humans sitting together, eating, laughing, telling stories. Others danced as they had before, spinning and clapping, creating patterns of joy. It looked so different from her people, who danced only during sacred rituals. The humans danced simply because they could, because they wanted to celebrate life. That idea struck her like lightning. Could joy really be so free, without rules or judgment? Lyra crouched behind a low boulder, her eyes wide with wonder. Her gaze kept returning to the same human boy she had noticed before. He moved differently than the others, freer, lighter, as if the rhythm lived inside him. He smiled easily, his face bright in the firelight. Lyra did not understand how a creature could look so open, so unafraid. Every part of him seemed to invite trust. She whispered his image into her mind, though she did not know his name. Something about him made her feel less like an outsider, and more like someone waiting for a place she had not yet found. The music slowed for a moment, the humans clapping their hands together in rhythm. Voices rose as they sang in unison, words she did not understand but felt inside her bones. Lyra leaned closer, unable to stop herself. Her cloak brushed against a loose rock, sending it rolling softly down the slope. The sound was small, but to her it roared like thunder. She froze, her glowing eyes wide. The humans turned, some laughing, some curious. The boy looked up the slope again, his gaze sweeping across the shadows. Lyra pressed herself against the rock, heart hammering. Would they see her? Would they chase her? For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the boy tilted his head, a slow smile spreading across his face. It was not the sharp smile of cruelty she knew from her people. It was gentle, almost welcoming, as if he knew someone was watching, and he was glad for it. Lyra's breath caught in her throat. She dared to lift her head, just enough to meet his gaze. The firelight flickered in his eyes, and for a heartbeat, it felt as though he truly saw her. Instead of calling to the others, instead of raising alarm, he simply nodded, a small motion, subtle, yet filled with meaning. It was a gesture she did not understand, but it made her chest ache. Why would he acknowledge her? A stranger, a shadow, an alien. And yet he did, not with fear, but with quiet acceptance. She stayed frozen, her hands trembling, until the music rose again. The boy turned back, laughing as he joined the circle once more. The moment ended, but its weight pressed into her heart. He had seen her, and he had not turned away. Lyra pulled back slowly, her knees weak. She could not risk being discovered. Not yet. But her mind would not let go of that nod, that simple sign of recognition. It burned inside her like a spark, chasing away years of cold rejection. For the first time, someone had noticed her without mockery, without hate. It was as if a door had opened, a door she had never known existed. And though she had not stepped through it, she knew she wanted to. She wanted more than anything to understand this strange boy, to know why his smile felt different, to know why his eyes had not judged her. As the night grew deeper, she retreated back into the plains, the music fading behind her, but echoing endlessly in her mind. She wrapped her arms around herself as she walked, whispering softly, "He saw me." The words felt impossible, but they were true, and that truth gave her courage she had never known. The humans were not like her people had described. They were not only dangerous invaders, at least not all of them. There was kindness among them, a warmth that reached her across fire and shadow. When she reached the edge of her village, the silence felt heavier than ever. Her people slept soundly, unknowing, uncaring. To them, she was still an outcast, a cursed child. But somewhere beyond the ridge, there was a boy who had looked at her differently. That thought became her secret flame, a flame she would guard and follow, no matter the cost. Because deep inside, Lyra knew this was not the end. This was only the beginning. Something waited for her in the firelight of the humans. Something that might finally show her where she truly belonged. The next evening, Lyra's thoughts were restless. She had promised herself she would not go back, that it was too dangerous. But the memory of the boy's smile and the nod he gave her would not leave her mind. It was a thread pulling her, guiding her back toward the firelight. She told herself it was foolish, told herself she was weak for wanting more. Yet her feet carried her across the glowing fields once again. The night air was alive with music before she even reached the ridge. This time, her heart did not race with fear alone. It also raced with anticipation. The valley below glowed brighter than before. The humans had raised tall lights around their camp, making the fire flicker less lonely. She could see their faces clearly now, their movements sharper, their joy louder. And there he was, the boy, laughing among his people, his voice clear in the night. He clapped in rhythm, spun around, and pulled another human into the circle of dance. Lyra's chest tightened as she watched. A strange ache grew in her heart. Both longing and fear mixed together. She wanted to be near that light, yet the shadows around her whispered warnings. She crouched behind a ridge, tried to convince herself to turn back. But then, as if the universe had chosen this moment, the boy glanced up again. His eyes swept the slope, steady, searching, until they landed where she hid. Lyra's breath caught, her glowing eyes betraying her once more. He froze for only a moment. Then, to her shock, he smiled again. But this time he did not look away. Instead, he stepped out of the circle of dancers, his gaze fixed on her shadow. Slowly, carefully, he began to climb the slope toward her. Panic flooded her. Her first instinct was to run, to vanish into the crystal grass before he could reach her. But something inside held her still, a quiet voice telling her to wait. Her heart hammered as he came closer, his hands open, no weapon, no threat. When he stopped only a few steps away, the firelight cast a glow across his face. Up close, his features were even more strange to her. Skin pale compared to hers, hair falling across his forehead. But it was his eyes that rooted her in place, warm and steady, filled with curiosity instead of fear. "I see you," he said softly, his words strange but carried with kindness. Lyra did not understand all the meaning, but she felt it. She shook her head, her voice trembling. "You should not." But he only tilted his head, studying her like someone looking at a star they had never seen before. "You don't have to hide," he continued gently. Then he did something she never expected. He held out his hand toward her, palm open, fingers relaxed. An invitation, a gesture so simple, yet made her breath falter. Lyra stared at that hand. No one in her life had ever offered her such a thing. Her people pushed her away, avoided her touch, treated her glow as a curse. And now here was a human, the so-called enemy, reaching out as if she belonged. Fear screamed inside her, telling her it was a trap. But another part of her, deeper and stronger, whispered that this was real. The boy did not move, did not rush her, only waited with patience, as if he already knew the weight of her hesitation. Her hands trembled, her legs weak. If she touched him, everything would change. If she refused, she would return to the darkness of being unseen. She felt her throat tighten, her eyes sting. The music below continued. The humans still danced and sang. But here at the ridge, the world was silent, holding its breath. Finally, with a shaky breath, Lyra lifted her hand. Slowly, cautiously, She placed it into his. The moment their skin touched, warmth shot through her. It was not pain, not rejection, but something she had never known. Acceptance. The boy's smile widened, not in victory, but in gentle joy. He gave her hand the faintest squeeze, grounding her in the moment. "Come," he said softly, pulling her toward the light below. Lyra's eyes widened, fear rising again. She shook her head quickly. "They will not want me." But he only shook his head in return, his grip steady. "They will if I do." Her heart raced, torn between the safety of shadows and the risk of firelight. Yet the warmth of his hand made the shadows feel colder than ever before. The boy began to guide her down the slope, slow enough for her to choose. Every step closer to the fire felt like stepping across a line she could never return from. She wanted to pull away, but her hand refused to let go. Her soul refused to return to loneliness. When they reached the bottom, the humans turned to look. Voices quieted, music faltered. All eyes fell on her glowing form. Lyra froze, trembling under their gaze. Her instinct screamed to run, to vanish, to curl into herself. But the boy stood tall beside her, still holding her hand. His presence was a shield, his smile a promise. Slowly, he raised their joined hands toward the firelight, and in a voice clear and strong, he said something to his people. She did not understand the words, but the meaning was clear. He was introducing her, not as an intruder, not as a danger, but as someone worth standing beside. Lyra's heart thundered as silence filled the camp. Every second stretched endlessly. Would they reject her as her own people had? Or would they see what he saw? The fire crackled, the music waited, and Lyra stood in the light for the first time, her hand in his. Unsure, afraid, but with a spark of hope burning brighter than ever before. The silence in the human camp stretched longer than Lyra could bear. Every eye was on her. Every whisper of flame seemed louder than her own breath. Her glowing skin reflected the firelight, making her appear even more alien, even more different. Fear gripped her heart, telling her this was a mistake, that she did not belong here either. But the boy's hand was still in hers, steady, warm, unshaken. That small connection kept her from running back into the shadows. The humans stared, some with wide eyes, some with confusion, some with unease. A few stepped back as if unsure what she was. Others tilted their heads curiously, whispering to each other. Lyra wanted to vanish, to fold herself into the earth. Yet the boy did not let go, his presence grounding her. He turned toward her, his smile calm, his eyes shining with something she had never seen before, trust. Then, without warning, the music rose again. One of the humans struck their strange instrument, a drum-like beat filling the air. Others clapped, some hesitantly, others more boldly. The rhythm returned, strong and steady, calling the dancers back. The boy glanced at Lyra and gave a small nod. He stepped closer, lifting their joined hands. With a gentle pull, he invited her into the circle of light. Lyra froze, her breath caught in her chest. The circle of humans opened slightly, leaving space for her. But fear pressed hard against her. If she entered, she would be seen by all, judged by all. What if they laughed? What if they rejected her like her own kind did? Her hand trembled in his, but the boy did not let go. Instead of forcing her, he simply waited, his eyes patient, his smile encouraging. Something stirred in her chest. It was the same feeling she had when she first heard the music. A strange pull, a desire to move, to feel alive. She had spent her life in silence and rejection. Now, for the first time, someone was giving her a chance to step into the light. Slowly, almost painfully, she took one step forward, then another. The humans shifted, watching closely, but no one stopped her. The boy squeezed her hand gently as if to say, "You are safe." They stood together in the circle, the fire crackling, the beat rising. The boy began to move with the rhythm, his steps light and playful. He swayed, turned, clapped, his movements full of joy rather than rules. Lyra watched, unsure, her body stiff with fear. But then he looked at her again, his smile soft. He moved slowly, showing her the rhythm, inviting her to follow. Her feet hesitated, her heart screamed she could not. But deep inside, another voice whispered, "Try." She lifted her foot and copied his step, awkward and shaky. The humans murmured, some in surprise, some in awe. Her glowing skin shimmered as she moved, reflecting the firelight like a living star. She took another step, then another. The boy clapped in rhythm, guiding her, keeping her close. Her movements were clumsy, but something began to awaken in her. A strange warmth spread through her body. She was not being mocked, not being pushed away. They were watching, yes, but not with hatred. They were watching with wonder. The music grew louder, the rhythm faster. The boy spun lightly, then offered his hand again, guiding her into a turn. Lyra gasped, stumbling slightly, but he steadied her. For a moment, she almost laughed, the sound catching in her throat. Her fear began to melt, replaced by a trembling joy. The firelight danced across her glowing skin, making her look like part of the flames themselves. The humans' whispers grew softer, replaced by smiles, nods, and even claps of encouragement. They were accepting her, little by little, not because she hid what she was, but because she dared to be seen. Her heart pounded, her breath uneven, but she kept moving, step after step. The rhythm carried her. The boy never let go of her hand, his smile never fading. With every beat, she felt less like an outcast and more like someone who belonged. She dared to look up, meeting the eyes of the humans around her. Some still looked uncertain, but many were smiling. Children clapped, copying her glowing movements as if it was a game. For the first time, she was not mocked. She was admired. The dance grew faster, louder, the circle alive with energy. Lyra spun again, her cloak falling back, revealing the full glow of her skin. Gasps filled the camp, but no one stepped away this time. Instead, they cheered, clapping louder, urging her on. The sound filled her heart with something she had never known: acceptance. Tears stung her eyes, but she did not stop. She danced, clumsy yet free, awkward yet alive. And in that firelit circle, for the first time in her life, she was not the outcast. She was part of something greater. When the music finally slowed, her chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. The humans clapped and cheered, their voices warm, their smiles real. The boy squeezed her hand once more, his eyes shining with pride. Lyra looked around, trembling with disbelief. She had entered their circle expecting rejection. Instead, she had found something she had never dared to dream of. A place, even if only for this moment, where she belonged. And as the fire crackled and the music faded, Lyra knew this was only the beginning. The first dance had changed everything. But with change came danger. And deep in her heart, she feared her people would soon discover what she had done. The firelight celebration lingered in Lyra's heart long after the music faded. For the first time in her life, she had danced, not alone in the shadows, but among others. She had felt laughter around her, warmth on her skin, and eyes that did not reject her. The human boy had given her something she never imagined possible: acceptance. Yet as the night deepened, unease crept in her chest. Because joy was never free, and every choice came with a cost. When she slipped back toward the plains, the silence of her village was waiting. But silence did not mean safety. Her glowing steps left faint trails in the soil, and whispers traveled quickly among her people. By morning, the elders already knew she had been gone again. They cornered her in the square, their cold eyes heavy with judgment. "Where were you?" one hissed. "Why do you vanish into the night?" She tried to answer, but her trembling voice failed her. They didn't need her words. The glow on her skin told them enough. The humans had seen her, and now her own kind knew it. "You shame us," another elder spat. "You bring danger to our doors." Lyra shook her head, tears rising. "I only wanted—" But her words fell apart as the crowd gathered, murmurs sharp and cruel. Cursed child, they whispered, unfit to belong. Her chest ached as their voices pressed against her like stones. No one asked why. No one asked what she had felt. To them, she was already guilty, not for what she had done, but for what she was. By nightfall, she escaped again. Her feet carried her back to the ridge, where the firelight of the humans flickered in the valley. The boy was there, waiting, as if he knew she would return. He smiled when he saw her, lifting his hand in greeting, but she could not smile back, not fully. Her heart was heavy, weighed down by her people's rejection. They hate me, she whispered when he drew close, though she knew he could not understand every word. Yet somehow, by the way his brow furrowed and his eyes softened, she knew he understood enough. That night, when the humans began their dance again, she hesitated. Her steps felt heavier, her chest tighter. The boy noticed, his hand reaching for hers with the same warmth as before. Come, he said softly, his voice gentle, inviting, but she shook her head, fear pulling her back. What if they don't want me? She whispered, though the humans around her were already smiling, already clapping. The boy's gaze held her steady, his voice firm now. I want you here. Those words broke something open in her, a crack through her fear. And once more, she entered the circle, though the weight of judgment pressed harder this time. At first, the humans welcomed her again. Children clapped, women smiled, some men nodded in approval. But not everyone was pleased. One man stepped forward, his voice sharp. Why is she here? His eyes narrowed at Lyra, suspicion dark in his gaze. She is not one of us. She does not belong. The firelight flickered on his face, making his anger look harsher. Lyra froze, her heart sinking. She had expected this, but hearing the words still cut deep. The boy stepped between them, his hand still gripping hers. She belongs, he said firmly, his voice carrying strength. Some nodded at his words, but others shook their heads, muttering. She is dangerous, another said. What if her people come for us? The murmurs grew louder, the circle breaking into two halves, some willing to accept her, some ready to cast her out. Lyra felt the ground sway beneath her. It was the same rejection she had always known, only now from another side. Tears welled in her eyes, but the boy tightened his hold, refusing to let her slip away. You don't see what I see, he argued, his voice fierce with conviction. She is not a curse. She is not a danger. She is hope. The humans fell into silence at his words, their eyes shifting between him and the alien girl. Lyra's chest shook as his voice carried for her. No one had ever defended her before, not her family, not her people, no one. Yet here was this human, standing against his own kind just to keep her in the light. But hope was fragile, and danger was never far. From the ridge above, shadows stirred. Unseen by the humans, a group of her own people had followed her trail. Their eyes glowed with anger, their voices whispering threats in the night. They had come to witness her betrayal, and what they saw only confirmed their fears. Lyra, the cursed child, dancing in the firelight of the enemy. Their judgment would not be words this time, but punishment. The boy saw her sudden fear and turned, scanning the darkness. What is it? He whispered. Lyra's lips trembled, her eyes fixed on the ridge where her people hid. They are here, she breathed. And in that moment, the warmth of the dance was gone, replaced by the chilling weight of conflict. Her people against the humans, and she trapped between them. Her heart thundered as she realized the truth. The dance that had given her hope was about to set the world on fire. The night was heavy with tension. On one side stood the humans, their firelight flickering against anxious faces. On the ridge above, her own people watched like shadows, their eyes burning with anger. And in the center stood Lyra, her hands still caught in the boy's, her heart trembling between two worlds. The whispers of her people carried down the slope, sharp as blades. She has betrayed us, one voice spat. She dances with the enemy. She is no longer one of us, another hissed. Lyra's knees shook, every word slicing deeper than the last. She wanted to run, to disappear into the night and never be seen again. But the boy's grip kept her steady, his gaze locked onto hers, grounding her like an anchor. The humans murmured as well, uncertain, divided. Some stood behind the boy, nodding, their faces calm with quiet acceptance. But others frowned, their voices harsh. Send her away, she will bring war to us. She is not one of us, they echoed, their fear rising. Lyra's breath came in shallow gasps. She was the outcast, once more, rejected from both sides. Her people hated her for stepping into the firelight. The humans doubted her because of the blood she carried. It was the same pain all over again, doubled, crushing. The boy stepped forward, raising his voice above both sides. Enough, he called, his tone sharp and steady. He turned toward the humans first. Do you not see her? She has done nothing but stand with us. She is no threat, no enemy, only someone who wanted to dance. The humans hesitated, their whispers slowing, their eyes falling on Lyra. Some softened, some remained cold, but his words had carved doubt into their fear. Then he turned toward the ridge, where the alien figures shifted in the darkness. She is not your shame, he shouted, his voice steady even though he knew they might not understand his language. She is not your curse. She is someone with a heart, someone who deserves more than rejection. The words were strange to Lyra's people, but the strength behind them could not be missed. They bristled, their voices rising in anger. One of the elders called down, "You cannot save her. She belongs nowhere." The sentence cut deep. The final blow meant to break her spirit. Lyra's chest heaved as she looked between them. Her people above, her enemies below, and herself in the middle. All her life, she had run from their judgment, their hatred. All her life, she had hidden in shadows, wishing for a place to belong. And now the chance stood before her, fragile, terrifying, but real. She could remain silent and be swallowed by rejection, or she could speak, step forward, and risk everything. Her hand tightened in the boy's, her glowing skin trembling with emotion. For the first time, she lifted her chin, her voice rising against the weight pressing down on her. "I am not a curse," she cried, her voice breaking yet strong enough to echo. Both humans and aliens fell silent, her words carrying farther than she expected. "I'm not your shame. I'm not your danger. I am myself." Her glowing eyes swept across them all, filled with tears but burning with fire. "I've been alone my whole life, cast out, hated, forgotten, but tonight I was seen, I was accepted, I danced." Her words cracked, but the strength in them did not falter. "I will not run anymore." The boy stepped beside her, his voice steady. "She chooses to stand here with us." His hand lifted hers higher, their joined hands glowing in the firelight. "She is the bridge between us, not the wall." The humans watched, torn between fear and awe. The aliens on the ridge hissed, some ready to strike, others holding back in uncertainty. For the first time, both sides were unsure. Her words had unsettled the certainty of hate. Her choice had created a new possibility. But Lyra knew it would not end so easily. Hate was not broken in a single night. Still, she had made her choice. No longer would she be silent. No longer would she let others decide her worth. If both worlds rejected her, she would create her own place between them. Her body trembled, but her spirit held firm. She was the outcast no more. She was the first to choose. The night stretched on, heavy with silence. The humans lowered their voices, watching carefully. Her people shifted in the shadows, divided between anger and doubt. The fire crackled, the music gone, replaced by the pounding of hearts. Lyra stood tall, her glow brighter than ever before. Whatever came next, she would not hide again. She had chosen her place, even if the world tried to take it from her. The fire crackled in uneasy silence. Lyra stood in the circle, her glowing skin brighter than the flames, her hands still joined with the boys. Above, her people lingered on the ridge, their whispers sharp and restless. Around her, the humans shifted, torn between fear and hope. Two worlds stared at her, waiting, doubting, fearing, yet unable to look away. For a moment, the weight of it nearly crushed her. She was only one girl, one outcast. How could she stand between entire peoples? But then she remembered the loneliness of the fields, the years of rejection, the cruel whispers that had followed her since childhood. And she remembered the music, the warmth of the firelight, the first time she had felt like she was part of something. If she gave in to silence now, all of it would be lost. So she took a deep breath, her voice trembling but loud enough to carry. "You fear me because I am different," she said, her glowing eyes sweeping across them all. But what is different is not always dangerous. Her people bristled, their voices rising. "She is lost." One elder spat. "She has chosen the enemy." But another hesitated, their voice quieter. "She has chosen to speak." The humans, too, whispered among themselves. Some muttered, "She will bring danger," while others nodded slowly. "She is brave." For the first time, doubt lived on both sides. Doubt in hate. Doubt in the certainty that she was nothing more than a curse. The boy raised his voice beside her, strong and clear. "She came to us not with weapons, not with lies, but with hope," he said. "She danced with us. She laughed with us. She is not the enemy you fear." He turned toward Lyra, his eyes shining. "She is proof that we are not so different." His words carried across the camp, and silence fell again. Every ear strained to hear what would come next. Every heart beat louder, waiting for the choice of the night. Then, slowly, one of the human children broke from the circle. The little one stepped forward, eyes wide with wonder. She reached toward Lyra's glowing hand, not in fear, but in curiosity. Lyra gasped softly, unsure if she should pull away. But the boy gave her a small nod, steadying her. With a trembling breath, Lyra knelt, her glow softening as the child's tiny hand touched hers. Instead of fear, the child laughed, a pure sound, light and fearless. The humans murmured in surprise, their eyes softening at the sight. Above, her people stirred uneasily. But even there, some whispered differently. "She does not bring death." One voice said, "She brings something else." The elder hissed again, but his certainty seemed weaker now. The seeds of doubt had spread, even among those who had condemned her. For the first time, Lyra was not the cursed outcast. She was something neither side had expected, a bridge. The boy helped her rise again, his hand never leaving hers. Together they stood tall, firelight painting their faces. "We can fear forever," the boy said firmly, "or we can choose to change." His voice echoed like a challenge, his courage standing beside hers. And Lyra felt her chest swell with something stronger than fear, pride. She was no longer hiding, no longer shrinking beneath the weight of others' judgment. She had chosen her place, and now the world would have to see it. The music returned, soft at first, uncertain. One human clapped, another struck the drum, and soon the rhythm filled the air again. The dancers hesitated, glancing at her, waiting. Lyra's breath caught, her eyes wide as the boy gave her another smile. He lifted her hand, guiding her into the circle once more. This time she did not hesitate. She stepped forward, her glow lighting the ground. The humans followed, clapping, moving, smiling. And even from the ridge, some of her people lingered, not leaving, not striking, only watching. The first dance had been fear, the second defiance. But this dance was something new. It was not only hers, not only the boys'. It belonged to everyone who dared to hope. Her steps grew surer, her glow brighter. The fire roared, the rhythm carried. And in that circle, under the twin moons, Lyra's legacy was born. She was no longer only the alien outcast. She was the girl who stood between two worlds. The one who was seen, the one who dared, the one who chose. And though the path ahead would not be easy, though anger and fear would rise again, this night would never be forgotten. The night when an alien outcast danced, and humanity chose not to turn away.